Majority of the time, Disney movies have references for other or upcoming movies. In this video, we're diving into the top 15 mind-blowing movie details you probably missed. From hidden Easter eggs to clever connections, get ready to see your favorite films in a whole new light. Let's jump in.
Hiding, are we?
First, in The Lion King, we see Mufasa got killed by Scar, his own jealous brother. Scar betrays him by throwing him off a cliff into a stampede of wildebeests, and we thought Mufasa never appeared again. But in a scene which Scar is lying on a big rock, we see that he play around with a skull. And if we compare the skull with a lion's skull, we can see it's exactly the same thing. So in another way, we can say that the skull that Scar plays around with is actually Mufasa's skull. But it's not going to end there. In Hercules, we can see him removing a lion head and throws away. If you look closely, you can see it looks exactly like Scar, so Scar got the ending he deserves. Also in the movie of The Grinch, we can see a statue of an elephant rising some sort of a flower. But I bet we saw this in somewhere else too. In the movie of Horton Hears a Who, we can see Horton rising a flower which some creates are living in it. And if you get closer when Ned tries to blast a ball, we can see someone who looks just like the Grinch. And in another scene, we can see the Grinch wears a Santa Claus's clothes. And in a movie, The Nightmare Before Christmas, we can see a creature which looks just like the Grinch when he was wearing Santa Claus's clothes. Is it possible for him to be Grinch? To check that we can see that creature having a dog who is exactly looks like Grinch's dog, look closely. We can clearly see that creature is no one that the Grinch himself. Also in Pixar movie, have you noticed that they always references TP their next movie? For example, in Monsters, Inc. 2001, when the child gives some toys to Sully, you can see one of the toy is Nemo, which is the main character of the movie Finding Nemo, which released 2 years later. When I started watching Nemo in the scene, which the dentist attacked by Nigel, you can spot a boy in the dentist's waiting room, reading a comic book, which is featuring The Incredibles, which is a reference to a movie that released 1 year after Finding Nemo. However, again, it doesn't end here. When Incredible fights with a Syndrome's giant robot, you can spot Doc Hudson from Cars, even though it seems lifeless. And 2 years later, Car Movies was released. And now let's talk about Tarzan and Beauty and the Beast. Did you know there is so many references in Tarzan which belongs to Beauty and the Beast, as well as some similarities? For example, in the camp trashing scene, you can spot Mrs. Pot and Chip from Beauty and the Beast, and there is even more than that. Just like Gaston in the Beauty and the Beast, Clayton attacks the hero the same exact way and almost died the same exact way. If you are enjoying our video so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Also, did you know that Hero 6 and Frozen somehow connected? If you watch Big Hero 6 closely during a scene when Baymax and Hero are flying across the city, you can spot a statue of Olaf, protagonist of Frozen movie. Similarly, in the same scene when Baymax is showing his abilities, he destroys statue of Hans, the villain from Frozen, and it doesn't stop there. When Baymax and Hero enter the police station, if you look closely at the bulletin board, you can actually see Prince Hans listed as a wanted man. This could mean Hans somehow escaped from the prison, and maybe it's a clue that we'll see him return in Frozen 3. Now let's show you some details which I believe you didn't notice in Princess and the Frog, so we know that Charlotte is obsessed with becoming princess. Now, if you look real close at the spines of the books in Charlotte's room, you can see that one as Rapunzel, and the other is Little Mermaid. But wait, you can also spot King Triton on a Mardi Gras float during a parade. And during the busy market scene, you can spot a woman holding a carpet that looks exactly like the magic carpet from Aladdin. Similarly, when Mama Ode is throwing various items out of an old trunk, among them, you can spot something familiar. The genie lamp. Also a week ago, I was watching Luca and noticed something crazy. And here is what I found. Before Luca and Alberto enter the town of Porto Rosso for the first time, you can spot an old bike in the water. That's the same bike Luca later uses to enter the race after splitting from the team. That's why you can see that the bike is covered in seaweed and dripping wet. But wait, there's even more. During the race, you can spot the Pizza Planet truck and the Luxo ball. Similarly, the train ticket Alberto gives Luca at the end of the movie has a 113 on it, a reference that appears in so many Pixar movies like Toy Story, Coco, and Cars. But till now, I have no idea what is that number for. But if you do, please let us know on the comment. Also, here are some details about my personal favorite movie, which is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Well, obviously, we all think that Death meets Puss for the first time in the bar. But that's not entirely true. You see, Death has been watching Puss's every step. For example, during the scene where Puss is taking down the giant, you can see Death in the crowd, quietly observing Puss and waiting for the right time. And another detail, which is a bit emotional to me, is do remember how bad Goldie wanted to get a real human family through the wishing star? Well, when she enters the cabin and reads this fairy tale book, if you look closely at the first letters, it says you already have it, hinting at Baby Bear, Mama Bear, and Papa Bear. And that's what she finds out at the end of the movie, which is just amazing.
Beside these two, let's talk about SpongeBob because when you think deeply about them, you realize it's not just a simple cartoon. For example, did you know that characters in SpongeBob represent the 7 deadly sins? For example, Squidward represents wrath, and Plankton shows envy the whole movie, and Mr. Krabs is greedy, that is why he represents greed. And for Patrick, he represents sloth. Also, Cindy represents pride as she is always feels and acts that way. And guess who represents gluttonies? Of course, it's Gary the Snail. And for the main character in the TV show, which is SpongeBob, he represents lust. So if you look the movie with that perspective, you realize that I am right.
That is it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe because how you can help us to grow and motivate us to keep it going. Thank you very much for watching this video.